Moana 2 is the latest Disney animated sequel, so today let's rank all of the Disney animated sequels from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin. Here I like to watch movies and TV shows on streaming services and in theaters. I've wanted to do this list for many years. Every January I plan that I'm going to do the Disney animated sequel ranking, but I just never got around to it. But with Moana 2 coming out in theaters, it's the perfect time to do this ranking video. And I've had stressed out about this for quite some time about what to put on this list. There are a lot of direct-to-DVD animated sequels, and I was basing this list off of Disney Animation Studio films. So an extremely goofy movie is not on this list. I also did not include all of the Winnie the Pooh spin-offs or all of the Tinkerbell films. I just solely focused on Disney Animation Studio sequels, all the direct-to-DVD ones. But then you have ones that are just based on TV shows, like the Hercules animated sequel, which is just a collection of episodes from the Hercules show. I did not put that in this list. But there are a few movies in here that are based on shows, but they were unaired episodes or shows that just didn't make the cut. So enough talking, let's get into this ranking list. Coming at number 34, Tarzan and Jane. Tarzan and Jane did have a animated show that was based on the Disney film, but these are episodes that were unaired at the time of its release. The actual episodes that are in this movie are the last episodes of the show, which is so weird to me, but these were released before the end of the show. So I put this on this list. I thought about Tarzan and Jane for quite some time. It's a bad movie. It's the worst one of the bunch for me. When you bill it as a movie, you expect like a coherent storyline, and you just don't get that with Tarzan and Jane since they are episodes. The animation is very poor compared to the movie and even the show. Like, there is just this low quality feel to this movie. The storylines aren't engaging. The dialogue is very choppy and is very simplified. There's not enough engaging moments when it comes to Tarzan and Jane. Coming in at number 33, Belle's Magical World. I found this film to be quite frustrating with how they portrayed Belle and the Beast. They make the Beast to be more aggressive compared to Beauty and the Beast, and I absolutely love that film. But they try to apologize for his very aggressive behavior. They try to argue that he is kind despite a terrible personality. He hates animals. He does not listen to Belle, and Belle is constantly apologizing for him. It doesn't do much to make that relationship seem worthy. We see that natural progression within that first film. It's so toxic within this movie. And then we have Fifi, who thinks Lumiere is cheating on her with Belle. It's so bizarre, and it is a storyline that is just so out of left field compared to the more personal Beauty and the Beast film. Atlantis, Milo's Return. This was supposed to be an animated show, but after Atlantis failed, cut the show and just took some episodes and turned it into a movie. There's some cool ideas with it. It feels very similar to Tarzan and Jane, just different storylines throughout this movie. But I would like to take just one or two of them and turn it into a feature-length film, because there are some cool ideas that expand on the world of Atlantis, but all of them ultimately do feel really short, and you're not getting your money's worth with this film. Coming in at number 31, The Return of Jafar. I remember watching a lot of Aladdin, The Return of Jafar, and the third one, King of Thieves, when I was a kid. I really liked Aladdin, and I remember going to Fred Meyer's and getting the VHS for King of Thieves when I was a kid. But Return of Jafar is a low point in Aladdin franchise. Like the third one, you're going to see it higher on this list, and I really like Aladdin as a Disney animated film, but Return of Jafar is not it. This is a poor sequel. that fails to capture the magic of that original film. Not having Robin Williams return within this film honestly really hurts this movie. There is no character development for Aladdin and Jasmine. Jafar has some cool moments in here and grows as a villain, but doesn't really ever amount to much. And the odd thing about it is that it feels like it's a spin-off of Iago and really centered on him when it does not need to be. If you took Iago out of it and all of the storylines centering around him and just solely focused on Aladdin, Jasmine, and Jafar, you could have had much more of a thrilling adventure. But it's so weird the route that they took this movie. Coming in at number 30, Lion Guard: Return of the Roar. I contemplated this movie a lot and if I should put it on the list or not, as it serves as a setup for the Lion Guard Disney Junior show. But since it is a Disney Channel movie, it aired on Disney Channel and it is a movie, I threw it in this list. And I think there is some good intentions behind it, but it just ultimately feels like The Lion King in a very childish way. Like, it is aimed for children. It is a Disney Junior show, so you're going to get a very simplified version of what the heavy themes of The Lion King were. But I thought it worked. The animation was bright. It was nice. The characters are fun. Keon in here feels very similar to Simba, and the storyline ultimately feels very similar. So there are a lot of borrowed moments. Like, there's a lot of callbacks to The Lion King. It's a great continuation of it. There are better Lion King sequels. I did like The Lion Guard for what it was. I don't think it was the best reboot of the franchise. I think they could have done things just a little bit differently and not rely so much on what came prior, but I thought it was fun for a kids movie. Coming in at number 29, The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. This came out in 2002 and somehow just looked worse than the original movie. And they attempt to have Quasimodo be in this relationship, and the woman that he's fallen in love with has some different motives, and you have a very classic cheesy storyline in here of she meant to meet Quasimodo because she needs to do something. He finds out, he doesn't trust her. She says everything that we did, and believe me, it was meant to be, it was true love, blah blah blah, and they get back together. And it's a storyline that feels way too familiar despite being a Disney animated sequel. The animation looks really bad. I just had no care in the world. This movie had no energy, had no love to it. It felt very simple and familiar. The storyline was very generic, and it was a very quick watch, and I forgot about it after I watched it, and I just wanted to go back and watch the original film. And that's how I feel about most of these movies, is I just want to go back and watch the original one. I can't recall one movie in here that is actually better than the sequel. Maybe one of them, we'll see on this list. Coming in at number 28, The Fox and the Hound 2. I really didn't understand what the point of this film was. It's childish, and it's set between the beginning and end of the first movie, so they're not adults within this film. They're still kid fox and dog, and the storyline, there's like no significant moment. There's nothing that adds to their relationship. It's just a string of moments that are trying to be fun, but there's no depth. There's no emotion. There's hardly a story. It's just moments of them having fun. The first film felt very mature when you looked at that relationship, and the tone is just so off for this film. It does everything in its power to forget how that film was and structured and how mature it was, and you're just going for more childish moments that have no emotion, no depth whatsoever for it, and it completely forgets about what made that first film work. Coming in at number 27, Mulan 2. Very similar to Fox and the Hound 2, this film completely forgets what made Mulan work. And in this movie, they focus on a lot of other characters, these women that are to be married, and characters from the first film and Mulan are taking these women to go get married. And throughout the movie, we have some conflict and some reflection from these women about being forced to be married. And there is some discussion around that, which could have been a highlight of the movie and added for some hardships along the way and some deeper themes throughout. But it tries so hard to balance this dramatic tone, and then it offers songs and crazy adventures, and it feels like it's not trusting itself. And you relying on comedy, hijinks, just crazy moments from our characters, and it's just so weird the turn they took for Mulan. I feel like she's not even the center of her own film. So Mulan 2 felt very much like Fox and the Hound 2. Didn't need to happen, didn't do anything to contribute to the first film or strengthen it, and it's just a bad movie. Coming in number 26, 101 Dalmatians 2 Patch's London Adventure. This was fun, an innocent movie. It felt very clean with its animation. I like Patch as a character. Very different compared to 101 Dalmatians, where you had a lot of thrilling sequences and a great connection of family and watching the Dalmatians try to find all these puppies. The character develops nicely throughout the film, and you utilize a lot of what made that first film work. And so it is a movie that I enjoyed watching, but it is still a little bit lower on the list. There's just a lot of villains in here. There's a lot going on. A lot of it's cliche when it comes to those villains, and so you can't really have a central focus of this movie. You have Patch in his London adventure, but there's just so much else going on that it feels bombarded with a lot of characters that really didn't need to be in here. It's an innocent movie, but I feel like it tries to do way too much with its story and doesn't really pay off in the end. Cinderella 2 Dreams Come True. A lot of these Disney animated sequels are anthology films and have a lot of different storylines throughout, but this is one that works well. Cinderella 2 has 3 different storylines in it, but it's all centered around what happens happily ever after, and I think it contributed a lot to Cinderella as a character and showed that strength in what happens to her after that original film. You have a lot of moments with Cinderella and Prince Charming returning from their honeymoon. You also have moments with one of her stepsisters that really breaks this character down and adds more personality to her, and you see this character in a new light. So there's a lot that this film does with its short runtime and with it being an anthology film and many different storylines in here. The animation has changed significantly. It's bright and detailed throughout, and I like each segment in here. Maybe it's because I really like Cinderella as a character and I really like that original film, so there was enough in here that did please me when it came to the character and watching her grow throughout this movie. Coming in number 24, Pocahontas 2 Journey to a New World. This is very similar to Mulan 2 and Fox and the Hound 2. I didn't understand what was the whole purpose behind it, as it felt like it's going backwards for the character. And you had John Smith in that original film, and having that relationship set up with Pocahontas, it's taken away in the sequel, and you have new characters, new relationships, new things you have to get adjusted to. And it's so weird because why do I care so much about what happened in that first film? And that original film felt impactful for all the right ways, and there's nothing in this movie that offers a discussion, nothing that offers a profound look of Pocahontas's life. And so they're doing everything in their power to rip away that development from that first film and just doing nothing to grow Pocahontas as a character, looking at her relationship, her influence as well. It's just all just a short story that never really amounts to much. Coming in number 23, Kronk's New Groove. This was a fun movie. I didn't think that Kronk deserved a sequel when I saw Emperor's New Groove as a kid, but he had enough fun moments within that film that it was okay to have a sequel centered around him. It wasn't going to be a sequel that was going to swing for the fences and offer a lot of impactful moments. It's very similar to Emperor's New Groove. That movie had a good amount of comedy and, you know, some heartfelt moments for the Emperor. And with Kronk, you kind of get the same version, and you have some comedy and some heartfelt moments for Kronk and more understanding of that character. But I feel like it's over reliant on that comedy. There isn't as much, you know, emotional moments for Kronk or development. It's just a comedy film, and it's silly, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Emperor's New Groove. I enjoyed Kronk's New Groove and how similar they did feel, but taking the character and having his own film. I feel like they were trying to take a very simple character and really stretch it out to have a feature-length film, and at times it does show with its pacing and a little bit of some repetitive moments. But I did enjoy the overall tone of this movie and the comedy that it did offer. Coming in number 22, The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning. This is the third film in the franchise, and I like that it added more of an understanding of her father and why he is so hesitant on having her go out of the sea and live on land, and her being exposed to humans. You peel back that relationship and it adds a new sense of protection from her father, and you see what happened to her mother, and it just adds more emotion to it. I really like what they did with her father and how he wants to protect her because of what happened to her mother. You get a more understanding of Ariel's life and her upbringing, which contributed a lot to the overall Little Mermaid franchise. So I really like that aspect of this movie. Coming in at number 21, Tarzan 2. The beginning of this film is the best part of it, and takes place when Tarzan's younger. So in the little bit of the original film, and he feels like he's a burden to his family. And there's a lot of things that a young Tarzan goes through in his mind, and he feels like he can't help out, and he's putting people in danger. If the movie would have continued how the beginning of it was set up, it would have been a film much higher on this list, but it ended up being a silly film with a strong setup that just didn't work in the end. And you look at Tarzan's growth throughout this movie, it doesn't do much to strengthen his growth in the original Tarzan film. Coming in at number 20 is The Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea. This involves Ariel's daughter, and the structure of this movie feels very similar to that original film. Morgana is the villain in here. She seeks out Melody to use her powers. Everything about it just feels like the original film, but Morgana has no sinister moments like Ursula. There's no thrilling sequences like the end of The Little Mermaid. There's no sweet moments throughout, but it is a nice look at when you grow up and you start to become like your parents. You start to realize what your parents went through when you were younger to help take care of you. So Ariel is growing, and she sees herself and her father, and now she has to protect her daughter. So that is an interesting aspect to the film, which does carry it throughout, but everything just feels like a weaker version of that original film. Coming in at number 19, Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure. This is a charming direct-to-video sequel that focuses on Lady and Tramp's son, Scamp, and Scamp yearns to live the life of a street dog like his father. There's this nice contrast of family dynamics in here where Scamp yearns for that street life, and Lady and Tramp provide that security for their son, and he starts to challenge the overall family dynamics. And he's likable throughout. There's a good character arc. He grows throughout this film. He matures as well, understanding that security that he has from his parents, and also trying to find his place within the world. Animation solid, nowhere near as polished as the original. The quality feels like it's more suited for television. It feels very predictable at times with all of the minor characters and Scamp's journey throughout, but it is a overall fun film. Coming in at number 18, Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. I love the Christmas vibe within here and just the overall fun feel to it. The storyline follows Belle as she attempts to bring Christmas cheer to the Beast's castle, but he's still haunted by the curse, and so he's not all with the holiday vibe. You have a villain, Forte, the castle's pipe organ, who threatens to destroy Christmas and keep the Beast in his cursed form. While this animation is a step down from that original film, it's still able to capture the enchanted feel of the castle and all of the characters within it, introducing new characters and some backstory for them. I like the pipe organ in here, very sinister throughout the movie, and his motives, although feel very generic, contributed a lot to this movie. Coming at number 17, Brother Bear 2. This is set after the events of the first film, and Kenai is now fully transformed into a bear. This film introduces Nita, a childhood friend of Kenai's, who's also connected to a powerful magic that could reverse Kenai's transformation. This film goes through a lot of different storylines about letting go of one's past and embracing the present and the future. But that relationship between Coda and Kenai continues to be the backbone of this film, as that where a lot of the emotion lies, as seeing Kenai and him protecting Coda. But the introduction of Nita does add for more lore to Brother Bear and the curse within here as a nice approach to it and exploring new relationships. This film expands on the themes of the original film but never reaches those heights. It does come pretty close to the original movie, but I do prefer the original Brother Bear. Coming in number 16, Stitch the movie. This was a setup for the Lilo and Stitch show, and the characters learned that Stitch isn't the only experiment from Jumba, and there are 625 other experiments, and it's up to Lilo and Stitch to rescue them all before they fall into the wrong hands. While having so many different experiments, it never feels like this storyline has a chance to fully develop. But I love the characters of Lilo and Stitch, so despite this movie having such a quick pace to it, I enjoyed the overall vibe of it, and continues the love in here and the sense of family while expanding the universe with new experiments. Lilo and Stitch's bond remains central, and their teamwork is charming. It's fun to watch. Seeing them just rely on each other is very enjoyable, a great continuation of it. The show is a perfect way to build off of this movie, but I feel like this could have just been the pilot of the show rather than having the movie set up the show, because it's okay to have a show trying to find 625 experiments. It's hard to get that across within this movie. But I love the vibe of this movie. The animation's pretty good for its release. The characters are still very likable, and the tone is very sweet and charming. So despite a very quick pace to it and that setup for the show, I still really like this movie. Coming at number 15 is Leroy and Stitch. The previous film was a setup for the show, and this is a conclusion to the show. And you have an evil version of Stitch in here, Leroy, and Dr. Hamsterville's plan to take over the galaxy with an army of Leroys forces Lilo and Stitch to reunite the entire Ohana, including all 625 previously captured experiments, for one final battle. It is a good conclusion to the show. Did not watch the show. I watched the setup, I watched the conclusion. I didn't watch everything in the middle, but it is a fun film. When having that reunion with all the experiments does give a strong sense of closure. Despite me not watching the show, you could feel that closure, that conclusion to the series. And despite Leroy and all of the experiments, it feels like it's relying so many on the callbacks, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot new within it. And although that Leroy is fun in it, he feels like a plot device rather than having that emotion and that development for him. Just a way to bring all of the characters together. The 625 experiments, it's just a setup without having that depth to him. Coming in number 14, Jungle Book 2. I really like the characters in the Jungle Book, and the sequel sets up a nice progression for Mowgli and him adapting to his new life. But he quickly goes back to the jungle, and that feels like it's just resetting itself to be a film just like that first movie. So all the characters like Bagheera and Baloo, they still feel very much like the same characters within that first film. So I was impressed that they were able to maintain the overall vibe and tone from that first Jungle Book film. Nowhere near as good, but I like that it was able to just create that same energy. The voice acting's decent for the time it was released. Villain arc still feels very similar, but I like that Mowgli is struggling with being now in this village and then also trying to get back to his life in the jungle. So it does move this character forward in the right direction, but at times it feels like it's just a repeat of that first movie. Coming in number 13, Tangled Before Ever After. This is a setup for the Tangled animated series on Disney Channel, and the animation is so different from the original Tangled film. But I really like this in seeing a different side to Rapunzel, and that she was away from her home for many, many years. And so what she knows of her life in the tower is going to be so hard to adjust to her life that she should have had. And so seeing how she's adjusting to that, it does add some depth to Rapunzel as a character, and watching her be in this new position, different routines for her, and we see that lifestyle come out, and watching her navigate her day-to-day life without being in the tower, it's hard for her. Although she really wants it, it's hard. And I really like Rapunzel as a character, and they just make her more charming and more likable within this film. Coming in at number 12, Aladdin and the King of Thieves. This film was a huge improvement over Return of Jafar in terms of the story, the voice acting, bringing back Robin Williams. There's a lot of adventure to it. There's also enough development between Aladdin and his father. Setting up that conflict in the beginning allows for that progression to feel very personal and worth your time, mixed in with a lot of adventure and a lot of comedy from the genie, and just an overall tone is managing to be very similar to the first Aladdin film. I enjoyed this movie. I remember watching it a lot as a kid and liking that development between Aladdin and his father. It's a huge part of the film, and it's nicely written throughout, where you actually care about the story and seeing that progression. Coming in at number 11, Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time. This was very different. I thought it was a film that was able to challenge Cinderella as a character and look at her step siblings in a different light, and seeing what they go through, because within this film, it's a different version of what if one of her stepsisters was the one that had the glass slipper, and so Cinderella has to go through this journey to fix everything so she can get back to her normal life. But also just looking at her stepsister and what she has gone through, you have that reflection, and it was a very unique story. Like, it wasn't trying to continue the story of Cinderella. You see a lot of these animated sequels, they're just trying to continue a story. They're actually doing something different, and I really like that it was a very unique story with a twist to it. And so by having the stepsister more involved in it, you get a different look at her, and she's just not that evil person that you saw in the original Cinderella film. There's much more to her that we just don't fully understand. Coming in at number 10, Bambi 2. Bambi 2 feels very mature with its storyline, as Bambi is mourning the loss of his mother. His father's trying to protect him, but he doesn't fully understand what it takes to be that father and be there for his son. A lot of mature themes, and he wants his father to be there for him. And his father is having that hard time of balancing being this protector, but also being a father. And we see that nice progression of that relationship. There's a lot of highs and lows to it, but we see that father grow throughout and learning what it takes to be that father rather than just trying to protect his son. There's a lot of deeper themes in here that I did not expect from a sequel, and it makes it more mature compared to the other animated sequels with its story, and it's so interesting to watch. Coming in at number 9, Fantasia 2000. I'm not the biggest fan of Fantasia or Fantasia 2000, but this is a beautifully animated film. All of the segments look really great. Even if they are reliant on the previous Fantasia film. But the sweeping score, the animation, I get lost when watching these movies, Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. I am enthralled with that animation and how beautiful it does look. The biggest issue for me with Fantasia 2000 is the celebrities that introduce the next segment. They tried to have that comedy in it. It feels really out of place with how prestigious Fantasia does feel with its shorts and its segments. That comedy, especially like from Steve Martin, it really just throws everything off. So I could have done without the celebrities introducing the segments. I could see what they were going for, but I wanted that like natural flow of the next segment. And all of them look really great, and they're so interesting to watch. When you get that celebrity, kind of throws things off a little bit. Coming in at number 8, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Ralph Breaks the Internet continues that great relationship between Ralph and Vanellope, but having it step in the right direction. You're expanding on the technology and the video game world set within that first film by going into the internet. You have a lot of humor about internet and social media and shopping, all of that. They really understand all of that within this film, and people being on social media, shopping, googling things throughout. This film has a great understanding of the internet. The film feels very long with its story. If it's with Vanellope with this race car game and all the other characters, or Ralph trying to earn money to get a piece for Vanellope's game, the characters have different stories, and you're dedicating so much time for them. And at times certain sequences are bogged down throughout, and I'm not that interested in Ralph's storyline or Vanellope's storyline. But I did like this movie with its humor, continuing that relationship between Ralph and Vanellope. There's a lot of great thrilling moments, having a lot of Disney cameos, like all the princesses. That's all a lot of fun. Just the movie just feels very overstuffed with what it wants to accomplish. Coming in number 7, Rescuers Down Under. This is the only film on the list that I would say is better than the original. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Rescuers, but I do remember watching a lot of Rescuers Down Under as a kid. The animation's very bright, what they did with Miss Bianca and Bernard, bringing them down under, introducing new characters. There's a lot of thrilling moments and that real sense of urgency when it came to the kid and all the animals that they wanted to protect. It had a real sense of adventure and did a great job of continuing the foundation from the first Rescuers film into the second film, while feeling very different in terms of its animation and its setting. So it was appropriate to have it in a different location to continue what the animals go through and protecting other animals. I really enjoyed it watching it as a kid, and as an adult, I felt there's a lot of thrilling moments with some characters that are very likable. Coming at number 6, Return to Neverland. There's a lot of heavy themes in the beginning of this film surrounding war. We have Wendy, who's grown up. She has 2 kids. Her daughter's name is Jane. She doesn't believe any of the stories around Peter Pan, and so a lot of what she's going through in the time that it takes place in the 40s and centered around World War II, it's hard for her to have any kind of bright moment within her life. So when she does go to Neverland, you still have Captain Hook and Peter Pan and all the Lost Boys, but it's a chance for her to have some fun, but also realize things about her life and her parents and all of that. There's some heavy discussions in here, especially in the beginning of this film, but Neverland still is able to capture that magic. The animation still looks really great, And the character exploration of Jane grows throughout, and her developing that relationship with Peter Pan is a highlight of this movie. And at number 5, Lion King 1.5. This was a very fun film, very innocent movie that explores more of Timon and Pumbaa. There are characters that are very iconic when it comes to minor characters, like the sidekicks of the films. And it was fun to see a film that had a fun title. It was unique and very different from just kind of your average Disney movie or Disney animated sequel as well. So exploring these characters, you know, sometimes the storylines aren't as super engaging as others, and it's not that in depth when it comes to these characters, but it's fun to kind of look at a different point of view to where when Simba ended up meeting Timon and Pumbaa, kind of leading up to all of that. It's the 1.5 version, kind of in the middle of things, but it's just interesting to see those characters and how they adapted how they got to know each other. It's fun. All the moments with Timon and his family, I didn't see it was that most developed, but everything else about it was fun. There's a lot of hilarious moments. Coming in number 4, Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch. I thought this was a great continuation from the first Lilo and Stitch film, but in a way that challenges Stitch as a character, and he starts to malfunction. He's glitching, and so he starts to feel like he is a burden to everybody and is having a hard time being around Lilo and her family. So you see a more emotional side to Stitch as he realizes things about himself and that he is glitching and it's not his fault, but people are a little bit hesitant being around Stitch. So there's a very personal aspect to this movie that stands apart from other Lilo and Stitch films, the Stitch movie and Leroy and Stitch. This one has more of a deeper story that only gets more emotional as it goes along, but also builds how important that relationship between Lilo and Stitch is and how she's caring for him. And she knows that he's just glitching, building more on Ohana and what it means. And it's just a good story. Coming in number 3, Frozen 2. Now, I do think that Frozen 2 has some weak moments throughout, but it's able to capture that nice vibe of Arendelle within this movie. Elsa and Anna go through a lot of changes throughout. I still don't really care so much for Elsa's storyline. I'm more involved with Anna's storyline and seeing her grow. The musical numbers are great. They're not as catchy compared to the first Frozen film, but they are good musical numbers in here. The animation still looks really great. Olaf is still a very likable character, but you're diving more into Elsa and Anna's past with her parents. I thought that was a great addition to the film, but I do think that Frozen 2 isn't as good as that first film, but it's still a great continuation of that relationship and developing the world set within Frozen with Arendelle, looking at all of that, the community. I loved all of that, and Olaf's still a lot of fun. Musical numbers are great. A good sequel. Coming in number 2, Moana 2. Moana 2 is another one that I didn't think was as good as that first film, but it is a great story for Moana in this new position of a wayfinder trying to find more people out there. And so she goes on this journey where she brings this crew in and they have to rely on her. So she has to feel very confident within herself. She's a very strong character, less of Maui within this film. But what they did so well with it is that they grow her as this character. She's this wayfinder now, and they understand that she has to take this step forward. And they did that so well. The musical numbers aren't as catchy as that first song. I would love to see a little more of Maui. And then you also have this middle half where you think that this one character is the villain, but it's not. And then there's another storyline for a villain. You do feel that episodic feel to it, where this film was intended to be a Disney Plus series that they turned into a movie. So there's many times in here where you do kind of feel it's a little bit clunky in the middle half, but it is still a good story. And I would love to see Moana 3 and seeing that continuation of finding all the humans and connecting with different people outside of her island. So it's a step in the right direction. I think that they can do great things moving forward with the Moana franchise. But coming in first place, Lion King 2. This is a great movie and it has a lot of good songs in it. The opening song in here, He Lives in You. I saw the Lion King play in New York on Broadway, and they had that song within it. It's such a good song, better than some of the songs within the Lion King movie. So the songs in here are some of the best for not only Disney animated sequels, but a Disney movie. Kiara is Simba and Nala's rebellious daughter, and Kovu is the son of the lioness Zira. And so when people view Kovu, they are immediately thinking of this evil lioness Zira, and so they immediately have this idea of Kovu. And when you have Kovu and Kiara together, it's like this Romeo and Juliet story where they're good friends and they have a genuine relationship in here that works. But Kovu's mother doesn't want him associating with Kiara, and Kiara's family, Simba and Nala, don't want her associating with Kovu. So there's that conflict in here, but also that nice discussion of just because of your parents and your past doesn't make that who you are. And so there's a good story for Kovu and Kiara in here that feels very personal and emotional. With those nice songs in here, you were able to capture the Lion King vibe moving forward with new stories, and some of the consequences from that original film move forward in the second film. And just watching that relationship grow, I cared so much about it. So there you guys have it. Every Disney animated sequel ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.